Disclaimer: this episode will not be easy to listen to. Through the bravery of our guests to share their story, there's much more than words being shared. If you are not ready to listen to the tragic and devastating hardships of adversity, I urge you to look elsewhere for your podcast needs. Thank you. What's going on, YouTube? My name is Frosty, and I am the host of the Brain Freeze Mental Health Podcast. This podcast was built on the belief that everyone has a story that deserves to be heard. These stories are shared with the intention to spread awareness to anyone who may be going through a similar struggle to properly grieve, heal, and truly understand that we are never alone. The Brain Freeze is put in place as a facet for individuals to share their stories, no matter how devastating or overwhelming they may be to listen to. The Brain Freeze podcast does not claim ownership to any of the stories shared on this channel, and therefore any profits made from this podcast will be directly donated to a charity of the guest's choice. If you have a story that deserves to be heard and are ready to share that story, you may send a DM to the X handle provided on screen, or send an email to the Brain Freeze Podcasts, that's THEBRAINFREEZEPODCAST Remember, behind every person, there is a story, and no voice deserves to be silenced. Together, we can break the stigma. CosmicLexi is a trans-fem VTuber. Started streaming on Mixer in 2017 and switched to Twitch after the shutdown. She focuses Pokemon, Call of Duty Zombies, as well as many other games, and has recently made the switch to focusing on her art. But behind this loving, bubbly stream persona is a much stronger person with a story of heartache, betrayal, and bravery. Welcome back to the Brain Freeze Mental Health Podcast. This is CosmicLexi's story.
I guess we'll just go right into the deep end and we'll just talk about kind of how you got into the transitioning phase of your life and if there's any direct impacts that you took either IRL or online that stand out to you as some of your, I guess, hardest moments.
Yeah. I guess like starting out, I would say about third grade, I was probably 10 years old. I remember just thinking to myself, like, I don't feel right. I don't feel right in my body. And like some of those, like, I don't know if you've heard of Big Brother. I'm pretty sure you have. But watching Big Brother with my great aunt and stuff and like seeing all those girls and like seeing how pretty they were, and it's like I want to be that when I grow up. I want to be like that. I want to look like that. I want to be happy. And like I kind of suppressed it for years. And like kind of also during that time, this is definitely going to be a very deep section right now. When I was 11 years old, I was raped by my brother. Which really impacted me and really like just completely shut me down from any feelings that I ever had about anything like that. Because something like that, even being so young and having somebody that you trust, you love doing something like that to you, it breaks you. It really does. And I still have nightmares about it to this day, even though that I mean, I kind of reconciled with my brother, but that's still in the back of my head, like you did this to me. You left this scar and it cannot be healed. And then like I probably shut down for probably good 3-4 years. Not really thinking about anything, not really engaging, going to school like mute half the time. It was hard. And then I remember during middle school, I had a friend of mine, who was actually very nice. They were gay, and that was really like my first like introduction into like the LGBTQIA side of things. And like I've never really understood it like at that age, and like I also still have them back in my mind, like, I still wanna be a girl. I still don't feel right in my body. And I remember going to like, after I was done with, like, middle school and stuff, getting ready to go into high school, and during the summer before my freshman year, I went to go live with my aunt and uncle, and they were, like, kinda heavily Christian, and I ended up, like, just loving it there. I, like, devoted myself and stuff like that, but again, in the back of my mind, there's that, "I wanna be a girl, and I know that God doesn't like that," kinda thing. So, I ended up going to live with them after my freshman year. I was living in Ohio, so I ended up moving to Pennsylvania with them and living with them for the rest of my high school career. And I also remember just having, like, all these friends who are, like, gay, lesbian, and stuff like that, and, like, I felt comfortable telling them, like, "Hey, like, I don't feel comfortable in my body, and I don't know how I feel." And they told me, "You're probably trans." I'm like, "What does that mean?" And they basically told me the definition. It's like, "You are a girl trapped in a man's body. You don't feel like a man." And I remember going home and exploring myself. Like, I stole my aunt's clothes, and I tried them on, and I would look at myself in the mirror with those clothes on, and tears would come down my face with how happy I was seeing the real me. And when they found out, they took me to therapy, they took me back to church, they wanted to fix me. I ended up, like, wearing my aunt's clothes for so much and, like, during my high school years. And, like, also during my high school year, I lost my mother. So I lost that one parental figure that I could really, like, look up to and stuff like that, and that, like, really hurt me. So I kinda suppressed my feelings for about, like, 6 months. It wasn't too long. Like, yes, I miss my mother, but I wasn't around her that much. Neither with my dad. My dad, thankfully, is still alive. He's in Ohio. Um, but then I kept on wearing her clothes and ended up getting to the point where, like, they couldn't have me in the house anymore because they didn't wanna be hurt. And I felt so sad because I felt like I was losing this family that I've built with them for 3 years because they basically became like my mom and dad. And each kid that they had was like my little sibling. And losing that kinda broke me. And then I ended up moving back to Ohio where I reconnected with some of my, old friends, and then I ended up telling them how I feel, and, like, I have a best friend named 2 best friends named John and Ariel. They were my best friends in high school. They ended up getting married and having kids, together, which was very nice. They're like my brother and sister, and I love them. Um, but Ariel was so nice, and she ended up giving me some of her old clothes, and I could not have been happier. And then fast forward, that was, like, back in, like, 2019, 2018. And then, fast forward to 2019, I ended up moving down to Florida and finally, like, having a job of my own. I had a goal in mind at this point that, like, once I get my own insurance, I'm doing this. I'm starting my transition. I'm coming out. This is who I wanna be. This is my life. So end up about 2021, December of 2021, I finally get insurance. I have a best friend that I met at work. Their name is Amy, and they invited me to come live with them because I've told her my plan and stuff. And I wasn't sure if my house was safe for me to transition. Knowing now at the time it was. It was safe for me. Um so January 5th of 2022 I started my transition. And I felt complete. I felt like I was finally on a journey to become me. And that also like fed into my content creation as well, where I was now free to be myself. I was free to be CosmicLexi. Have like enjoying myself with streams more, engaging with people online. I remember back in 2021, before I started transition, I did respawn recruits. I didn't even make the first cut because I didn't have in my mind that I was even gonna make it. I didn't even try. And then the very next year, 2022, where I started out was my first outing as a VTuber and being way, way more confident and like seeing myself make that top 750, top 500, top 250, top 100. I was like, this is something that I want to do. This is something that makes me happy. This is something that I love. And each like each month it just got better and better and better. And I felt myself getting happier and happier. But there was also tons of hardships that comes with being a trans person online. Every day, every so often I get DMs telling me that you sound like a guy, you are a guy, you look like a guy, you are ugly, you will never make it, you will never pass. You are just pretending. And it's like I have to learn, I had to learn to shut those out because back when I first started, it hurt. It broke me down. But then like having my friends and people behind me to know that I don't have to listen to them. I can just shut them out, don't have to deal with them at all. And it makes it so much easier to deal with it, and it made it so much easier to deal with it when I met my now fiance. Uh, her name is Lady Nightskill. I met her December of 2022, and come March of 2023, I went to move in with her because down in Florida, it was not a safe place for me to be. So I moved back up to Delaware, where I'm now living a incredibly happy life with my fiance and stuff. And like there are still some days where I wake up and I still see who I used to be, and it's like tough trying to get out of bed each day. And sometimes like I don't get out of bed. I just sit there and wallow, but I know that if I do, I'm allowing those kind of people to win. And I can't give them the chance to win. Like transphobes, homophobes, like all those people, like they're awful. They're awful people. And like knowing that I have people that have my back and tell me like, "Girl, shush, you're pretty. Stop it."
So let's talk about, is there a specific time in mind that you were going through transitioning and maybe you didn't have VTubing fully set up yet, or there were times where you streamed a face cam, or just a specific instance that wasn't just you sound like a boy, that really stands out in your mind as one of the more difficult times, if not the most difficult time that you've had to deal with in the online space?
Yeah, back before it was like probably February, March, maybe April. I was still very much a baby trans. My hair was not even that long. Probably like maybe here. It was like probably honestly probably as long as your hair is right now. It's probably where it was. And like I was still doing face cams, and I remember getting what I thought was an awesome raid of like 50 people, and I was happy. I was like, "Holy cow, this is amazing." And then I started reading some of the names, and it really, like, because like these kind of hate raids, like their names and stuff, like were very like transphobic content, comments and stuff like that. And I just remember saying thank you for the stream, shutting it off, and going to go cry in my bed. It was such it was such a disappointing time. Like I thought I was in a safe place. I thought I was like happy. I thought that was a raid to like help boost me to where I want to be. And it's like after realizing what it was, it really broke my spirit. And I'm not gonna lie, I shut down for a few days. I shut down. I called out of work that next morning. I'm like, I can't come in. And I was very sad. But thankfully I had a friend at the time. They are a like TikTok creator that I talked to. Um and they ended up helping pull me out of that funk, and like having that having these kind of person that having these kind of people that you can go and rely on to help you is something that I strive to be, and I felt like I couldn't be that in the moment for myself. And it's hard when that kind of stuff happens. But when you have that person that can help pull you out of that funk and get you back on your feet, it's amazing.
You know, you've had the hate raids and you've had some one-on-ones against pretty hefty names in streaming communities, and you know you've gone through your IRL struggle and you went through your transitioning. And how have you found the ability to wake up and still put a smile on your face and be, you know, the shining light that a lot of us have come to know you from, just by, you know, seeing you on the timeline and being able to see you smile and have the confidence to post your face now. And how have you found that confidence to overcome the hardships, what seems to be constant hardships that you've gone through in your life? What's helped you guide your way through that?
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. There are times in which I put a smile on my face and it's not a genuine smile. But I will say that a lot more of these smiles recently are genuine. Like, I have come to learn that these people do not fucking matter. Their goal is to try to break you down, and they thrive on seeing you succeed. And you just have to I just had to put my foot down and say, this is not happening to me. I am not going to let this break my spirit any longer. I am going to face each day with a smile on my face and with happiness and love for them. Because honestly, they are sad people who need help.
Absolutely.
They need guidance and stuff. And like being able to like wake up and know that like I like kind of like I am seen by them, and kind of like, yeah, yeah, you see me. You know who I am. You know what I am.
For anyone who has gone through similar paths or has potentially gone through even worse, do you have advice to those that can't see, you know, the light for a better day coming tomorrow, or a week from now, or a month, or 5 years down the line? They just can't see that potential for anything to get better. um the ones who think that the world would be better off without them, do you have advice to those people to keep fighting, and what they can keep fighting for, why things will get better.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I myself have had multiple suicide attempts and one that landed me in a hospital for a couple of days. Um, but what I can say is that there is always light at the end of your tunnel. There's always a brighter future ahead. There's always people that have your back to support you. Find those safe places, find where you are welcome, and go thrive in those communities. Go thrive being yourself, because transphobes, everybody hate the world. It doesn't matter if you have your own smile and you can wake up each day saying, this is who I am, this is who I'm meant to be. The world can get over it. I'm going to live my life.
Are there any specific instances or topics that maybe should be touched on that we haven't talked about in regards to the LGBTQIA plus community, specifically targeting trans people in the community, online or offline? Just anything that you feel is a major or minor categorical topic that some people may be struggling with on a maybe a deeper specific level that maybe I wouldn't be able to relate to in a way that you might be able to with others?
I mean, yeah, there are some people in the LGBTQ community that like to say LGBTQ community and leave out the trans. And that like a lot of trans people like are hurt by that, because we are a community. We are queer. We exist. We should be visible to others. And it's the same with like government stuff. Like I remember one of my suicide attempts was being down in Florida and remembering that and figuring out that I may not be able to transition anymore. I may have to stop my transition. And that completely broke me mentally, because they were just passing laws and laws that like hurt us and try to honestly try to kill us, try to murder us. Like a lot of like a lot of what's happening with the trans community right now is honestly genocide. Like they are trying to eradicate us, like with the laws that they're passing in the southern states and like everywhere else. Like the other day the other week I posted a map and it was like, oh, the places that I can go, and it wasn't even half the states. Like I can't go, like I can barely go visit my grandmother down in Florida without having some kind of issue. Like I can't use the bathroom. And it's like stuff like that. It's like, why do you deny us from what like basic needs, like using the fucking restroom? Like I'm just gonna go in there and go pee. I don't care. I'm not going in there to groom little children. That's gross. That whole kind of like bathroom situation is like them thinking that, like, especially more specifically trans women going into the women's restroom, or going into the women's restroom and being accused of grooming little girls. And like I've been in female restrooms with little girls and I have no second thought about it. I just go in there, use the restroom. That's it. Go out, wash my hands, walk out. But there's still that thought in the back of my head where it's like, I'm gonna get yelled at for being in here. Like whenever I'm at work, even if it's on like I work third shifts, and like I still wait until there's like nobody in the restroom to go. Because society has made it so uncomfortable for us to go to the bathroom. And it's a basic fucking need, and we can't even do that.
Do you feel as though strides are being made, whether it's governmental or just people opening up their minds to allow the LGBTQIA plus community to be able to exist more freely? Do you feel like we are taking positive strides, or are we moving backwards still? Are we still at a stagnant pace, in your opinion?
Honestly, the way that I see things right now, we are kinda just running in circles. And it gets frustrating because, like, we take 2 steps forward, but then we take 2 steps back.
Do you feel as if there are any other categories that, like, once again, that may directly relate to the transgender community that may not relate to the rest of the LGBTQIA plus community, or just categories that I can't even begin to understand, that I wouldn't think to question because there's no way that I would know as a straight white male? Are there things that maybe should be common knowledge that just aren't, to the people that aren't as well versed in the knowledge of the LGBT?
There's also, like, campaigns going out for protecting transgender children. And, like, some schools nowadays won't even allow trans kids in the building. Like, they deny them from even, like, doing like, being there and getting their education that they require. And also, like, banning kids from going into restrooms and stuff. There was very recently a trans youth that was beat to death from using a restroom at their school. Kids can't get education if they're trans. Like, there are schools that deny it. And you would think that would be something that they would allow, like, every kid needs an education. Every kid needs to learn. And as much as I hated school when I was growing up, like, it's a necessary thing to have. It's a necessary thing to have that knowledge. And when you deny that from a child who's just trying to be who they feel like they want, or how they feel, it's discriminatory, it's gross, it's awful. But what's nice is that we're finally starting to get, like, LGBTQI representatives and political figures nowadays that can actually open up and shine light on who we are and not live in the shadows, not being oppressed.
There's a lot of things that I wish I knew what to say, as someone who isn't. I haven't walked a day in your shoes. Like, I don't want to
And
pretend like I can imagine what you've gone through.
yeah, and it's
Yep.
completely fair. And honestly, having me on this, like, makes you 10, 15, 100 times better than those kind of people that sit in my chat and spread hate. You are asking questions, you are trying to understand, and that, like, honestly, it's bravery.
After hearing some of the things that you have dealt with and gone through and experienced, I don't know if bravery can be used as a term. It's one of those things where I'm grateful for you to be willing to be a part of this, because a lot of individuals that have gone through experiences, even half of the battle that you've gone through, um, aren't comfortable with sharing their stories, which is 100% fine. It's a
Yeah,
matter of comfortability within themselves, and maybe they don't have as much to fight for as you do. They don't have as much of a battle to face tomorrow, and know that there are people within your community, um, that are facing struggles that maybe haven't even gotten to the worst part of their fight yet, that don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. There could at any point be a law that passes that, just you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. It's a completely drastic difference between the life that you live and the life that, for example, I live.
Yeah. There's still some fear there, but honestly, I faced the world with more confidence than I've ever had. Finally feeling like I'm finally like who I am. And like I'm only 2 years into my transition, but I feel like I have the confidence enough to like wake up every morning and go face the world. Because if I don't because if I don't and I shut down and like not be me, then they're winning.
I feel like we covered a good range of topics.
Mhm.
Is there any closing thoughts that you have on just anything that we've talked about or that we haven't covered?
Honestly, really all that I have to say is that there is always tomorrow. You may face hardships today, but there is always tomorrow. There is always that light that brings you back to where you are. Go find that light, go find that community. Go find your safe place. Do not hide yourself. Do not be afraid to reach out.
Absolutely. Well, Lexi, thank you so much for taking the time to have a conversation with me, educate me. I always loved having the conversations with you, and I'm grateful for your
Absolutely.
friendship. And it's been a great time talking to you once again. So, um,
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
yeah, of
This
course.
I'm very humbled and honored that you had me come on here and share my story, share my experiences.
Yeah, of course. If you guys want to check out Lexi, all of her socials will be in the description as well as you know wherever else you want to find her on any. Yeah, I'm not good at outros. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the first pilot episode of season 2 of the Brain Freeze Mental Health Podcast. Remember to go check out the other channels for all different types of content, all that fun stuff. But this is going to uh, be it. Thanks again, Lexi, for being a part of it, and we'll see you guys next time.